Hey. Hello, everybody. Let's wait to build an audience. It's Sandy Shellis. And today, while we're waiting to build an audience, we've got Hambone Littletail from Humpty Dumpty Tribe on YouTube. And say hi to nobody yet.
Hello to nobody yet.
Yeah, we're building an audience, and I want to make sure that I've got you all set up and the microphones in the right place. And when people come and join, they can hear you. And that's the most important thing. Okay, Cindy K is with us. Cindy, how's the audio? Because a lot of times this is what happens. You got to ask, when you do this, you got to ask how the audio is.
Cindy K, how am I coming through, Cindy K, before we dive into this?
How's Hambone sounding before we start this, guys?
Am I sounding all right? Testing 1, 2, testing 1, 2.
Give me the up, sounding good. Okay, all right. So everybody's giving me the hands up. We're getting some people. What I want to do first is I kind of want to take I want to show your picture. All right, can you guys see? There's Hambone, but I'm not going to keep his face on the whole time because I'd have to do some real contortionist movements. All right, Kim, you're here. Anyway, introducing. This is Hambone Littletail, and I have put him up on our page from his YouTube channel, which is called Humpty Dumpty Tribe. And I found Hambone kind of by accident, and I've been hooked on him ever since. And I know you guys that are here, some of you, please share this out if you can. And some of you know that I've published his videos and shared some. So, Hambone, how you doing? And tell us about you. Tell us about you.
I am quite honored to be on the Environmental Coffee House. It is a true honor to be here, and I don't know what I can, how I can sum up what I do. I run a very dark little corner of cyberspace called Humpty Dumpty Tribe, which is about 1 month shy of its 6th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about, what do we talk about on Humpty Dumpty Tribe? We talk about the state of the planet, how we got where we are, how we got here, and most importantly, people's ideas on where we are going as this whole thing just spirals out of control, and whether there's anything from this point forward that we can do about it. And I'm just trying to get the conversation going that no one else seems to be having, that Sandra's having it a little bit. I think I'm a little bit darker, probably, in an environmental coffee house.
I think so.
A little deeper in the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Oh, I've got your picture up so everybody can see you. Actually, I turned it around. I'm doing the contortionist thing here. So let me tell you, Hambone. One of the things he does every day is he reads the news, and on Environmental Coffee House we publish a lot of stuff. We do content aggregation of articles of interest, and Hambone does it, but he does it and reads and adds his own fascinating spin. And how did you actually get started, Hambone? How did you get started?
Well, way back in a former life, I was actually a journalist myself. That's what my degree is in journalism, and for 7 years I was a newspaper reporter and editor back in the 1980s. And mostly, when I had, the personal go-ahead to do it, I covered, even back then, mostly environmental news from 1983 to 1990, basically, through those years, through the Reagan years. But I wasn't quite as pessimistic and or realistic as I am now. And then I actually went, as crazy as this seems, I went into selling real estate for 20 years. So what I did for 20 years, I was what I call a clueless moron. And I was a real estate investor, house flipper, and real estate agent. Very successful in doing that, and I had a successful real estate business in Austin, Texas. Right on up through 2008 is when I took the red pill, as it were, and started, really looking at the situation. I'd taken off like 20 years of paying attention.
Yeah, okay, I hear you.
Let's say 1990 to 2008, so somewhere around 20 years, I had lost track of what was going on this planet as I was pursuing a real estate career, and and all the American dream and all of its BS counterparts.
We're learning.
And wow, it was a wake-up call, and where I saw what had happened while I was out making the big paycheck, what was going on in the rest of the planet. And when I figured this out, so I walked away from a $100,000 a year job. I got rid of a beautiful 4-bedroom, 3-bath home in South Austin, Texas, and became what I call an environmental. It's funny how Miami doomsday prophet, an environmental alarmist, and the chronicler of the downfall of global industrial civilization. So that is my job title, and I do this mostly through my YouTube channel, Humpty Dumpty Tribe, for the few people on the planet who want to listen to it.
Can I ask you a question, Hambone?
That's what I do.
Tell me about the eco-Nazi term. Tell my audience about it.
Well, the eco-Nazi, now I refer to myself obviously, facetiously, the term that the Alex Jones crowd, as I call them, the right-wing anti-environmentalist, clueless moron, conspirators who think that this planet can support 1 quadrillion people, with every one of us owning a sports car and a power boat. They refer to us as eco-Nazis. That's their term.
Yeah.
That these alarmists out there acting like there's anything wrong with this planet. So I own the term. I own the term proudly.
And you do.
I wear it proudly. I am an unrepentant and unapologetic eco-Nazi and environmental alarmist. I love this. This word alarmist is like a pejorative term. It is the situation is alarming. We need more Humpty Dumptys. We need more Chicken Littles. We need more environmental alarmists. We are in what I call the last stages of the collapse, not only of global industrial society, which is a long overdue collapse, that I'm cheering on the collapse of the global industrial economy, but we are certainly in the early to mid stages of the ecological collapse of planet Earth is what we are looking at, and I think this is an alarming situation. I think it should be the #1 conversation that we're having on planet Earth, but at least in my own life, I find that nobody is interested in this subject. Nobody.
Well, it's
talk about it.
Well, it's a difficult situation, Hambone. We have a balance that we talk about things. We are all activists, but I think I have a great deal of respect for your vision and your attitude, because I kind of subscribe to some of it myself.
Yeah, well, so I just want your readers. I won't use my full term to your readers and listeners, and I'm just and I'm jumping to conclusions here, which is always dangerous, but my guess is that the majority of your listeners are what I used to be, which is the mainstream environmental community.
Well,
and
somewhat.
I'm not knocking.
No.
I use the term LD. You can figure out what I use the term LD before I get to the word mainstream environmentalist. I'm not knocking them, okay?
Right.
Anyway, but I just want it clearly understood that I do not label myself an environmentalist.
Right. And I know that.
I am way deeper down that. Again, this is dangerous territory. It's not that I don't have respect for the mainstream environmental community, but when I use the term clueless moron or eco-Nazi, it's two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
The bottom line, my definition of an eco-Nazi is somebody who understands at this point where we are on the edge of the precipice, there is one tiny sliver of hope to save both our own species and every other species of Earthling we share this planet with, and that is to reduce the population of this planet by 90%, preferably 95%. And we need to do this now. And we need to do this by a planet-wide depopulation agenda campaign through reducing the birth rate by whatever means. I am not promoting. I do not know one single eco-Nazi that I have any respect for promoting killing one human being that's already on this planet.
Of course.
And more and more people are promoting a planet-wide, and I will use the word sterilization campaign. We need to sterilize at least 95% of the human race by whatever means possible. I advocate putting the shit in the drinking water. I advocate putting it in the chemtrails. I advocate genetically modifying the human food to sterilize humanity. The trick is going to be, how do you do this without sterilizing every other species of Earthling we share this planet with?
Roger has a question.
This is the bottom line of being an eco-Nazi.
Okay.
And as I say, the flip side, a clueless moron from the eco-Nazi perspective is simply anyone who does not understand where we are on the precipice of the collapse of a planet due to one single species, that is Homo sapiens. We are taking down every other species of Earthling we share this planet with, and we're going to take down ourselves. We need to decide as a species. The Agenda 21 is how to get our numbers down, or it's going to be, we either going to get our numbers down to, I say, less than 1 billion. Now, the Georgia Guidestones, which I am a huge fan of, I absolutely cheering on the Georgia Guidestones, they claim 500 million. That's twice as good as a billion. Either we get our numbers down to 500 million people or less, or we are effed.
Okay, Hambone.
It's that simple. That's the eco-Nazi philosophy.
All right.
And I understand that nobody agrees with. They're a tiny sliver, and the mainstream environmental community is not going to talk about the O word, overpopulation, the number one, hands down, problem on this planet is overpopulation, and the vast majority of the mainstream environmental community is not going to talk about the biggest sacred cow on this planet, and that is the unadulterated horseshit, God-given right for human beings to go out there and breed like rabbits.
Okay.
Anyway,
Hambone.
in a nutshell, I probably already chased away all of your listeners.
I don't think so. Actually, we have Roger. Roger is, no, you haven't. Actually, no, you haven't. Roger said it's the psychopathic elites who have us hooked on fossil fuels, and he said that it's not the majority of the human race, it's the elites about the population issue. But Roger's, Roger's my partner on Environmental Coffee House, and we have actually talked about it. And then he said, we have the technology to change. It's the factory farms and big industry that's the polluters.
The psychopathic elites, make no mistake about this, Sandra, are the first ones who need to be depopulated. And I might even make an exception to my no coal rule. But there's three ways of saying taking the population of this planet down below 1 billion people, and that is to get rid of fossil fuels. If we get rid of fossil fuels, that will collapse global industrial civilization, and it will result in that 6.5 billion people would go poof within 6 months. If today if we stopped using fossil fuels,
and you are one
tomorrow morning, and there were no fossil fuels on this planet, within a week, global industrial civilization will have collapsed, and at the absolute outside, within 6 months, the population of this planet would be reduced by 90 to 95%. So it's all saying the same thing. By advocating the immediate cease and desist order on fossil fuels is the same way as advocating the collapse of global industrial civilization, is the same way as advocating a depopulation agenda, because the only reason there are 7.5 billion people on the, well, there's several reasons, but certainly leading the pack is fossil fuels.
Yes.
There would not be 7.5 billion people on this planet without fossil fuels. And then, of course, the other two big ones being the other certainly would be antibiotics, vaccines, and nitrogen fertilizer.
Okay, well, that's you, but
we got rid of those.
But that's the industrial.
I'm an anti-vaxxer. I want to get vaccines off the planet. I want to get antibiotics off the planet, and I want to get nitrogen fertilizer off the planet.
I think there are a lot of people that might agree with some of that as far as, vaccines. I have friends, it's controversial. Of course, you are one really far end of the continuum. You are interesting as hell. You know that the majority of people are not going to do these things.
Obviously, nobody is getting on board with this.
No.
And this is the reason we are so effed.
Right.
Nobody is going. And the only hope is that there's it's not some global elitist, because the new world order that these conspirators are always talking about is the global industrial economy. The new world order is 100% dependent on an endless growth model on a finite planet. The new world order needs an ever-expanding population of consumers and an ever-expanding economic model. It is not the new world order who is the global elites who are going to come up with some depopulation agenda. It's either going to be some wacky mad scientist out of a Margaret Atwood novel, or it's going to be Mother Nature.
Well, we see that.
Terence McKenna, before he died, he said it's going to be a photo finish, and it is. It's going to be a photo finish. Which way this planet goes. And with every passing day that we stick with this model, there's 240,000 more people on this planet today than there were yesterday, needing to stick some food in their mouth and needing the place to take a shit order is 100% dependent on this model. And just do the simple math. It ain't going to work. We're heading into a brick wall, and I say at 67,000 miles an hour.
Yes. Let's go a little bit. Let's talk about when, you know, Hambone does the news, and he will talk about that, the 67,000 miles an hour, but now that Donald Trump is the President of the United States, it's even worse. There's a lot of humor.
We got up to 77,000 miles an hour instead of 60. That's the difference between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, for instance. And guys, just make sure you understand, I am no fan of Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama. But my differences between Donald and Hillary is that Hillary is a bad sunburn for the planet, while Donald Trump is a nuclear radiation burn for the planet. I understand that if Hillary Clinton had been elected president, she would still be leading the world into a brick wall at 67,000 miles an hour, about the same speed that Barack Obama was, and we would still be heading into a brick wall. But Donald Trump and his band of the horsemen of the apocalypse.
I love that term.
That he has himself surrounded with. My God, they're just taking it. They're just speeding it up. And the only ray of hope, and I'm not totally kidding when I say this, is that Donald Trump, since I am a cheerleader of the collapse and fall of global industrial civilization, Donald Trump and his little, his little squadron, they are the single biggest threat to global industrial civilization, and they certainly ramped that up on Thursday. So if I'm a champion of the collapse and fall of global industrial civilization in order to save the planet, I guess I'm a fan of Donald Trump, because he is the man who's going to do it, and he's going to do it quicker than any man on this planet.
You think?
But the question is he going to take down the entire planet as he takes down global industrial civilization?
And that is the question, isn't it? And we see what's going on, and we saw Syria. Now we see they're off of, floating off of Korea, but I digress. I don't even know how to comment on that.
I fully understand. In case there are any, every time I'm getting so sick of it. Every time I have a rant about Donald Trump taking down the planet, I'm going to have a bunch of these eco-Nazis calling me a clueless moron, saying that I do not understand that it makes no difference who is in the White House or any other government political body on this planet. We are going into a brick wall. And it's not something that is going to have a political or a technological solution. There are no political or technological solutions at this point. We are beyond those. Anybody looking to politics or technology, unless it's the technology to sterilize the human race, it ain't going to work. It's the technology and the political system and that got us into this mess. And as Albert Einstein, you can't use the same ideology that got you into a mess to get you out of it. We need to wipe the slate clean and turn around this train 180 degrees, but I realize that I'm talking out my ass, that this is a pipe dream. It's never going to happen, and that's why I personally have zero hope. And we are, whether it's 10 years, and I'm not one of these Guy McPherson bootlickers. I don't think it's going to do, but whether it's 10 years, 100, 500, or 1,000, We are in the end times. If we have 1,000 years left, which we don't, even Stephen Hawking will say, well, there's no damn way we have 1,000 years left at the rate we're going. If we have 1,000 years left and our species is 200,000 years old, we're 99.5% of the way to the end. And that is the most optimistic scenario. I think 99.5% of the way to the end, it qualifies for the end times. This is what I mean. Even if we have 1,000 years, we're in the end times. I am not some crazy-ass, Bible-thumping, crazy Christian, but I don't talk trash about these clueless moron Christians on my channel. I really don't. These Bible-thumping whatevers, they understand better than a lot of these mainstream environmentalists that we are in the end times. And they're having the discussion. It might be a discussion of a bunch of clueless morons acting like Jesus is going to come down here and save our guilty asses in the 11th hour and 59th minute. But how different is that than we got Paul Beckwith talking about creating anthropogenic volcanoes? What's the difference? Whether it's one of these crazy Christians or one of these nutcases talking about how geoengineering,
Okay.
At least they're having the conversation.
Yes, I will say...
which is more than 99% of the planet is doing.
Well, we're having conversations. We're not having conversations quite as radical as we are here. And it is, having you it is interesting. We have a guy that has a comment. Martin lives in Portugal, and he said, why are we going to hit the brick wall? I am sure that 300 million of you can stop the train driver. Martin's a pretty interesting guy, too.
Right.
Do you know Martin? Hambone, Martin, he walked and rode a bicycle 9,000 miles around the planet. He's an interesting guy.
Right.
Yeah, Martin's, and he has a YouTube also. And he's got lots of videos up there. Just adopted a dog, and the dog is named Starsky, and he calls them Starsky and Hutch. So, the continuum is a very wide one. And that's and what you've presented here is the one end of the continuum, and our people always will make up their minds for themselves by what we present. And I'm going to ask yes, somebody said they made a comment, they like Martin's comment. Does anybody have any questions for Hambone? Do you want to go through your list? And I want to tell you guys, your list.
I have several lists. What list are you looking for?
The one, your definitions list that you had on the blog that you started.
Oh, good Lord, that would take an hour.
Oh, it would. Okay. I had read that.
You can send people over there.
All right. He started a blog, and I was driving with a friend of mine, Karen, in the car. We were going to some meeting, and I read the whole thing to her, and it was interesting to say the least. And you start with talking about clueless morons, and then you go on and on. But everybody probably, as long as people understand that they have the autonomy within themselves to decide for themselves, I think what you're presenting here is an option for people to follow. And that's why you have 3,600 followers, right? Right.
I don't know if that's the reason or not, but...
Well, you're very...
as I say, which is a tiny few.
Okay, but you're very interested.
I just wanted to understand that sometimes people act like I'm not supporting mainstream environmentalists looking for solutions. Any solution we can come up with at this point, I am cheering on, okay? I'm not saying don't recycle and don't bicycle, all of this stuff. What I am saying is to look for solutions, particularly technological and political solutions, without talking about overpopulation is like talking about McDonald's without mentioning the word hamburgers.
Okay.
That there are no solutions to the mess we are in now without the final solution, which is approaching this entire mess from the demand side. Nobody is approaching this argument from the demand side. All of these clueless morons looking how we're going to feed more people, we're going to water more people, we're going to house more people, we're going to energize more people. Every one of these arguments, if we approach it from the demand side by lowering the demand on this planet, at that point, we can bring in all of the other solutions and have 500 million organic gardeners using their little organic reusable shopping bags and screwing in their little LED light bulbs into their solar panels. But if we don't talk about doing all this with a baseline of 500 million to 1 billion people instead of a baseline of 8 to 10 billion people, it ain't going to work.
Okay.
And people need to pull their heads out of their asses and understand this.
But let me ask you a question. Okay, so we have here's a question, Hambone.
Bottom line of the eco-Nazi line.
That's right, the eco-Nazi line. Now, I have a question. I mean, we talk about, and we are doing sustainable development. I'm highlighting all kinds of people.
Of course, that term sustainable development.
Yeah, it's new. There's even a college degree.
The single biggest unadulterated horseshit contradiction in terms of the planet. Derek Jensen, back in 1990, was pointing out, he goes, watch this term, sustainable development. It is going to come out as the single biggest bullshit term. There is no such thing as sustainable development. The two words are diametrically opposed. You cannot put the word development and sustainable next to each other.
So,
if you're an eco-Nazi, as long as you think there is such thing as sustainable development, you are a clueless moron, mainstream environmentalist. We need to stop development. We need to retrace our steps backwards. We need to de-develop.
Well, okay.
De-develop. As long as you're thinking that there's such a thing as sustainable development, you ain't saving a planet. You're swallowing this corporate greenwashing bullshit from the United Nations, who I always say is the #1 biggest collection of planet eaters ever assembled in the history of humanity. Anybody swallowing one word from that Paris Climate Agreement to the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN is so hopelessly clueless, I don't know what to do for them. Anyway, that's just my point.
Oh, it's your point. You are articulate. I'm interviewing you. That's right. You are articulate. And Environmental Coffee House.
We've already hit 30 minutes.
We have?
I'm not tired of talking. I can sit there.
Do we have any questions?
Day after day,
he does.
After year.
He does it. He does.
Your listeners have probably heard enough of this arrogant prick and want to move on to cute cat videos. I don't know.
No, we don't move. He's killing me.
How many times do I say I would not wish my knowledge with a capital K, my truth with a capital T, or my worldview on my worst enemy?
Yes, I've heard you say that a lot. And I also hear you say, yeah, we can go back to the cat videos. We're not doing cat videos.
Run the hell away from this rabbit hole. Get as far away from my YouTube channel as you can get if you have a brain left in your body, because you don't want to be down here. It's an ugly place.
But I find
understand how apt you truly are.
But you are an interesting person down that rabbit hole. I mean,
you want to hear it? Come on up to Humpty Dumpty Tribe. I'm throwing it out there for the few people on the planet who want to hear it for whatever reason. But
I understand.
If you don't want to hear it, I don't blame you. And I'm sorry I ever got here.
Well, it is a difficult pill to swallow, as you say.
Anyway,
you swallowed.
There's nothing to do about now.
Well, Hambone, you said, you began in the beginning. You swallowed the pill. And we all can choose if we want to or not. We just want to present you and your ideas. And there's a wide variety of ideas and ideologies out there. And it is about what can people handle, what is your own individual truth. Yours happens to be a very, well, I think overpopulation, you have a point. I'd like to ask Martin. Martin says, okay, let's talk about how we can stop it. Stop what, Martin, specifically? Martin's, and another comment was cheap birth control would help. Okay, but Martin, I want to delve into you a little bit. How we can stop.
That would be a first step.
I think, Martin, how we can stop. Hambone gave us his viewpoint of how we could stop, which is very radical and most likely will never happen, but that doesn't stop me from enjoying watching Hambone give the news or feeling, understanding what he's talking about. But that's the question right here, but I don't know. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, what have we been talking about? Oh, Martin, you'll have to go all the way back to the beginning. We can't do that now. Hambone is...
you're going to repackage this, right? You're going to repackage this interview and so people can hear it later, right?
Yes. People are going to hear it. I'm not going to...
This isn't just a one-off thing.
No.
Where people had to be tuning in the last 30 minutes on a beautiful Sunday afternoon or they're never going to hear it?
No, that's not true. We share things, and afterwards it gets posted, and we share it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
You have a Facebook page, but I know you don't go on it very often. But you know what? I'm really... look.
I do have a Facebook page, but I'm awful about using it. It's, it's the same thing with my blog.
It's time consuming.
But I do need to, because it literally takes on Facebook. If I would just remember literally to spend 30 seconds after each one of my videos to post them on Facebook, it might be worth something. But I need to be more serious about my Facebook and
well, if you feel that the message is going to, and you know what, you have your message. Everybody that is here has feelings about what you've said, whether they agree or whether they don't agree. But that's what the beauty, I think, of what I've created at Environmental Coffee House is to be able to have those differing types of opinions. Yes, the debate.
Everyone out there who's doing what you're doing, we need more and more. This needs to be the #1 debate on the planet.
Well, it is a discussion.
It's not even in the top 100.
Well, maybe today, maybe there's a couple of more.
Probably wrap up. We've run people off enough. I think this was enough.
Martin, I think,
introduction into the eco-Nazi rabbit hole. And
Martin's question was basically about how the human race is going to come to an end. Now let's talk about how we can stop it. Well, that might be for another day, Martin, and maybe another guest. Because I don't know. Because Hambone is who he is. He clearly has a position. He tells he reads the news. He pontificates. He articulates how he feels. That's why he's here with us. And that's why we'll have a lot of different voices. But I really appreciate that you were here. And it has been 30 minutes. And I, for one, appreciate what you do. And I watch you. That doesn't mean everybody else does, but I do. And I thank everybody who's watched. And I'm going to say, you stay on the phone, Hambone, for a moment, and I'm going to say thank you to those of you who have been here. Thank you for those of you who shared this interview. And it's not an easy subject that...
thank you for having me on Environmental Coffee Hat.
You're so welcome. Now you hang on. I'm going to say goodbye to my audience. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Peace, love, all that. You know how I feel about you.